Hello everybody, Donlinedude here, and welcome to my review of Iron Man 3.
I'm Tony Stark. I build neat stuff. I got a great girl. And occasionally, save the world. So why can't I sleep?
Iron Man 3 takes place not long after Avengers Assemble, with Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., under attack from a new enemy, the Mandarin, played by Sir Ben Kingsley, a terrorist who threatens to destroy everything Tony holds dear. With the help of his girlfriend, Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, and his best friend, Rhodey, played by Don Cheadle, Tony must defeat his new foes and conquer his demons. As you can probably tell by now, this is a much darker and intense movie than its predecessor, the anticlimax that was Iron Man 2. There's no setting up another movie here, and though there are quite a few callbacks to Avengers Assemble, they actually enhance the experience. I mean, New York was invaded by aliens last year, so it would be a little weird if no one mentioned it to Iron Man. Tony Stark in particular has been very affected by it. He's stricken with nightmares, which means he barely sleeps, and he suffers panic attacks whenever anyone mentions the New York invasion to him. Tony is way more vulnerable in this movie, and that's brilliantly mirrored by the fact that he spends a considerable amount of time out of the suit. However, and this is one of the things I really love about this film, Tony never mopes or broods for less than a minute. He's incredibly proactive, even when his back is up against the wall, and Robert Downey Jr. gives a fantastic performance as usual. Despite the fact that he can pretty much play the character in his sleep, Robert isn't resting on his laurels here, and he absolutely nails the drama and the comedy in equal measure. That also applies to Gwyneth Paltrow, who turns in an equally fantastic performance as Pepper. It's great to see how far the relationship between Tony and Pepper has evolved since the first Iron Man movie, and Robert and Gwyneth still have the chemistry that made this couple so fun and unusual to begin with. Pepper also gets more involved with the action this time around, and I really enjoyed that. The rest of the supporting cast are also great. Don Cheadle finally comes into his own as Rhodey, and I really like the idea of America appointing their own superhero in response to the events of Avengers. Former director Jon Favreau gets more screen time and depth as Happy Hogan, and Rebecca Hall is good as Maya Hansen, but the character doesn't get enough screen time, and I felt as though she needed it to properly flesh out her motivations. Ty Simpkins has brilliant chemistry and banter with Robert as Tony's kid sidekick Harley. We also get to see a unique and very funny take on the kid meets superhero idea. The villains of the piece are a vast improvement from Iron Man 2. Sir Ben Kingsley is just fantastic as the Mandarin, and Guy Pearce is a sinister presence as Aldrich Killian. James Badge Dale also impresses as extremist henchman Eric Savin. There's a big twist surrounding the Mandarin in this movie, and this is the part where I have to delve into spoiler territory, since there's been somewhat of a polarised reaction from the fanbase over it. I would like to be able to discuss it openly, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, skip to this point in the video, which I guarantee will be spoiler free. So, it turns out that the Mandarin is in fact an actor named Trevor Slattery, who has been hired by Killian to pose as a phony terrorist. Now, usually I hate these kind of changes, and while it is a little disappointing that Kingsley isn't the big bad of the storyline, I really enjoyed the twist. For one thing, it doesn't come out of nowhere. We see early on that the Mandarin's lair is in fact a set constructed by Killian, so it isn't that much of a stretch to assume that the Mandarin is in fact an actor. It also helps that Trevor is a very funny character, and his scenes with Tony are downright hilarious. During the climactic battle, Killian proclaims to Tony that he is the true Mandarin. He even has dragon tattoos over his body. By having Killian claim to be the Mandarin, the writers are making a statement that he is Tony's archenemy in this version of the Marvel U. And this works because of how he originally met Tony. In the film's opening, which takes place on New Year's Eve 1999, Tony dismisses a crippled and gawky Killian so that he can bed Maya Hansen. This ultimately shapes Killian into the monster he becomes in the present day, and it also means that Tony inadvertently created his greatest enemy out of what is often considered to be his greatest character flaw, his arrogance, and I really like that. The movie was directed by Shane Black, who brings his experience with action movies to the franchise in a great way. The action sequences are utterly thrilling and a joy to watch, from the daring mid-air rescue of the passengers of Air Force One, which by the way was actually filmed with a skydiving stunt team, wow, to the spectacular grand finale which features an entire legion of Iron Men, several of which are modelled after armours from the comics. The special effects this time are done by a total of 17 companies, including Weta Digital and Scanline VFX. Yeah, a lot of people worked on the special effects for this movie, and in my opinion, all of their hard work paid off. Brian Tyler scores the film this time around, providing a great soundtrack that enhances all of the scenes beautifully. This is an amazing movie with jaw-dropping visuals and great performances all around. It's a fantastic addition to the Marvel movie canon and easily the best of the Iron Man trilogy. I'm giving Iron Man 3 a 4.5 out of 5. Thank you for listening, everybody.
You're not a man. You're nothing more than a maniac. I'm not afraid of you. No politics here. Just good old-fashioned revenge.